Teen Talk fam. Welcome to the final part 3 of our Real Talk, No BS, deep dive into boundaries. In part 1, we defined boundaries and mapped the battlegrounds. In part 2, we loaded you up with the how-to skills for saying no and hyped you up with the amazing benefits. Now, we tackle the tough stuff. Why is setting boundaries sometimes so hard? How do you fight back against guilt, fear, and people who just won't listen? And what are the advanced, nuanced tips to truly master this skill without becoming isolated? Let's troubleshoot the challenges and unlock those Boundary Boss pro tips. All right, let's keep it 100. If setting boundaries was as easy as scrolling TikTok, everyone would be boundary masters. Therapists would be chilling on beaches, and honestly, I'd need a new channel topic. It's hard. It can feel like trying to explain TikTok trends to your grandparents or wrestling a greased-up badger. So let's break down why it feels so ridiculously difficult sometimes, and more importantly, how to fight back against those boundary baddies. First, let's talk about the internal struggle, the war raging inside your own head. A major player here is the Guilt Gremlin. That slimy, awful feeling that you're being selfish, mean, or a terrible friend, daughter, son/partner, just for saying no, especially to people you genuinely care about. Feeling like you somehow owe people your time, your energy, your help, even when it leaves you feeling totally depleted. That's the gremlin talking. So how do you fight back? Interrogate that guilt. Is it legit guilt, like you actually messed up and owe an apology, or is it that deeply ingrained people-pleaser programming screaming at you? Remind yourself, saying no to something that drains you or feels wrong is actually saying yes to your own well-being, your sanity, your values. Start small. Say no to low-stakes things to build that confidence muscle. Practice saying, "Let me think about it," instead of an instant yes. And know that feeling uncomfortable when you first start setting boundaries is totally normal. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong, it means you're growing. Next up is the fear of rejection or judgment. This one is huge. Being terrified that if you set a boundary, people won't like you anymore. You'll get kicked out of the group chat, they'll gossip about you, or they'll think you're stuck up, selfish, weird, or just plain mean. The cringe is real. The way to fight this is to remember, real friends, the ones worth keeping, will respect your limits, even if they don't love hearing no initially. People who ditch you for having needs weren't really your friends anyway. Acknowledge the fear. It's literally wired into our human brains for survival. But don't let it drive your decisions. Focus on earning your own respect rather than constantly chasing everyone else's approval. Talk kindly to that scared part of yourself. Reassure it that you can handle the potential discomfort. You are stronger than you think. Then there's FOMO, fear of missing out. That gnawing anxiety that if you say no to that hangout, that party, that random Tuesday night adventure, you'll miss the one legendary moment everyone talks about forever? Or feeling that pressure to constantly keep up with online trends and pretend your life is as perfect as everyone else's curated feed? Fight back by remembering social media is a highlight reel, often filtered to oblivion. It's not real life. Prioritize genuine experiences and connections that actually fill your cup over chasing online validation. Try setting some digital boundaries. Maybe designate phone-free times or zones, like your bedroom, and embrace JOMO, the joy of missing out. Find happiness in consciously choosing what you want to do, even if it's just having a solo Netflix binge in your PJs. It's actually pretty awesome. And let's not forget the fear of conflict. Do you hate arguments? Avoid confrontation like it's radioactive? Would you rather agree to something you absolutely despise than risk even a minor disagreement? You can fight this by reframing conflict as just clear, honest communication. It doesn't have to be a dramatic showdown. Practice those assertive I statements we talked about. They are designed to minimize defensiveness. Remember that healthy relationships actually involve some disagreement. It's totally normal and even necessary sometimes. If things do get heated, have an escape plan. Take deep breaths, say, "I need a minute," or suggest talking about it later when things are calmer. Okay, those are the internal demons, but what about the external pressures? One big one is the boundary bulldozers. Oh, you know them. The people who just won't take no for an answer. They push, they argue, they whine, they guilt trip, they try to wear you down. It's exhausting. How do you fight back against them? Become a broken record. Stay firm, stay calm, or at least pretend to be calm, and repeat your boundaries simply and clearly. Like I said, I can't make it. My answer is still no. That doesn't work for me. You do not need to keep explaining or justifying yourself. That just gives them openings to argue. If they still won't respect it, you might need to state a consequence. If you keep pushing, I'm going to end this conversation, or actually remove yourself from the situation. Their persistence does not cancel out your no. Your no is a complete sentence. Lastly, we have to consider cultural or family norms. Maybe you grew up in a family or culture where the unspoken or spoken rule is you always put others first. You're expected to be available 24/7. Saying no is seen as deeply disrespectful, or your business is everyone's business. This one is definitely tricky and requires finesse, but it's not impossible. Acknowledge where those expectations come from. Understanding helps. But gently remind yourself, and maybe them, respectfully when appropriate, that you still have the right to your own needs, limits, and privacy. Start by setting small, less confrontational boundaries within that context. Communicate your needs using those I statements, focusing on your feelings and needs, not criticizing their way. Mom, I feel stressed when you share my grades with Aunt Carol without asking me first. I need my school stuff to be private. It might take time, patience, and repetition for others to adjust, especially if it's a big shift. Dealing with the internal stuff, the guilt and fear, often requires shifting your core beliefs about your own worth. Tackling the external pushback needs consistency, courage, and sometimes backup from a trusted adult. It's tough but liberating. Okay, one last layer of realness before we wrap this boundary masterclass. Being a boundary boss, wielding your chill no like a shield, it doesn't mean you morph into an emotionless robot or build an impenetrable wall around yourself and tell everyone to get lost. Life's messy. There's nuance here, people. It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance. Let's talk about healthy versus rigid or selfish boundaries. Healthy boundaries are like flexible fences. They protect your space, your energy, your time, your sanity, but they have gates. They allow for connection, support, compromise, and fun. They are fundamentally about self-care and preserving your well-being so you can show up better in your relationships, not about punishing or controlling others. Rigid boundaries, on the other hand, are like 10-foot concrete walls topped with barbed wire. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Sometimes people hide behind the word boundaries as an excuse to be totally unavailable, completely inflexible, controlling, or to dodge accountability and difficult conversations. If your boundaries consistently isolate you, make genuine connection impossible, or are wielded like weapons to manipulate people, that's not healthy. That might be tipping into unhealthy or selfish territory. Healthy boundaries protect connection. Rigid or misused ones often destroy it. This leads us to flexibility is key. Real talk. Your boundaries aren't carved into stone tablets. They can, and often should, shift and change depending on the situation, the specific person, how much energy you have that day, or what else is going on in your life. Your boundary around sharing deep personal secrets is probably going to be different with your absolute ride or die bestie versus that random person you just met in biology. Your willingness to help a friend cram for a test might depend heavily on whether you have 3 major exams the next day. That's normal. It's about knowing your core values and your non-negotiables, the absolute hard limits, the deal breakers, but also having the wisdom and self-awareness to adjust your boundaries when it feels safe, appropriate, and doesn't torch your fundamental well-being. Healthy boundaries have some flex. And finally, the absolute golden rule, the platinum rule, the diamond-encrusted rule of boundaries: respect their boundaries too. This is massive, guys. Boundaries are a two-way street, a mutual agreement. Just as fiercely as you want people to respect your no, your need for space, your limits, you have to offer that same respect to others. Period. Listen. Like, actually listen with your ears and eyes when someone tells you no or expresses discomfort or looks like they're pulling back. Don't be the boundary bulldozer we talked about earlier. Don't push, don't whine, don't manipulate, don't guilt trip them for their limits. Ask for consent, whether it's for physical touch, borrowing stuff, or sharing personal info. Check in with people. How are you feeling about this? Healthy, respectful relationships are built on mutual understanding and consideration. Learning to recognize, honor, and even appreciate others' limits is just as crucial as setting your own. It builds empathy and prevents you from becoming the energy vampire in someone else's life. Here's the mic drop moment, the absolute bottom line. Setting boundaries isn't mean. It's not selfish. It is absolutely 100% non-negotiably necessary for your mental health, your happiness, and your future. It's you grabbing the steering wheel of your own life, respecting yourself enough to protect your peace, and building relationships that are stronger, healthier, and way more real, which ultimately leads to a stronger, healthier, more real you. Does it take practice? Heck yes. Will it feel awkward sometimes? Absolutely. Can you do it? Without a single freaking doubt. Start small. Be kind to yourself when you stumble. Practice those I statements and celebrate every time you successfully hold a boundary. That's a huge win. All right, Teen Talk fam, that is the real talk, no BS, on setting boundaries like the boss you are. If this entire series sparked something in you, if it gave you tools to level up your life game, you know the drill. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ding that notification bell so you never miss our next dose of essential realness. Share this entire series with that friend you know who desperately needs this boundary intervention. And drop a comment below. I want to hear from you after all 3 parts. What was your biggest takeaway? Let's hype each other up in the comments and build this Boundary Boss community. Stay strong, stay authentic, and I'll catch you in the next video.